I want to tell you about the most important investment I've made since Tesla. A company that went from $0 to $100 million in annual revenue in 8 months, then doubled to $200 million in the next 4 months, then raised at a $6.6 billion valuation by the end of its first year. This company is called Lovable, and I invested early. But this video isn't really about my investment. It's about why every founder, every entrepreneur, every person who has ever had a business idea and didn't know how to build it needs to understand what Lovable actually is. Because if you get this right, you can build a tech product without writing a single line of code. And I mean that literally. Let me show you what I mean. Let me take you back to when I started building companies. I had a clear vision, a sneaker marketplace built specifically for the Middle East. I knew the customer because I was the customer. I knew the culture. I knew exactly what needed to be built. What I didn't have was a team of developers sitting around waiting to build it for me. And this is the reality for almost every founder. You've got the idea, you probably have the market knowledge, but the moment you need to build something, a platform, an internal tool, a customer portal, an MVP, you hit a wall. You either spend months finding developers, spend a fortune hiring them, wait weeks for them to deliver something that doesn't match what was in your head, and then do it all over again. Here's a stat that actually blew my mind. Less than 1% of the global population knows how to code. Less than 1%. That means that 99% of people, 99% of the world's ideas, the world's founders, the world's problem solvers have been locked out of the ability to build software. Lovable was built specifically to unlock that 99%. So what actually is Lovable? Well, to put it simply, Lovable is what people are calling a vibe code platform. I know that sounds like tech jargon, but believe with me because it's genuinely simple. You open Lovable, you type what you want to build in plain, clear English. The AI builds it. Not a mock-up, not a wireframe. A working, functional, full-stack application with a database, with authentication, with payment integration, with a real front end in minutes. The term vibe coding was actually coined by Andre Kapathy, the former director of AI at Tesla, one of the co-founders of OpenAI. In February 2025, his idea was simple. What if you could build software just by describing the vibe that you want? Stop writing code. Start communicating intent. Let the AI translate that intent into a working product. Lovable took the concept and built the best version of it that exists, and the market responded like nothing I've ever seen in any AI startup. Here's what the growth looks like in real numbers. Lovable launched in November 2024. By July 2025, 8 months later, they hit $100 million in annual recurring revenue. That's one of the fastest ARR milestones in the history of software companies. 4 months after, they doubled it to $200 million. By Feb 2026, estimates put them at $400 million ARR. They raised a Series A at a $1.8 billion valuation, then a Series B at a $6.6 billion evaluation in the same year, more than triple the evaluation in 5 months. The investors back in the company are not small names, from the likes of Google's venture arm Capital G led Series B. NVIDIA's venture arm was in the round as well. Databricks Ventures, HubSpot, Coaster Ventures, these are not people who make casual bets, they are setting the boundaries of what AI is. As of right now, today, Lovable just launched on iOS and Android. That means you can build a full stack web app from your phone, voice prompts, on the go. This was announced today. Look, I've made early bets before. Postmates before food delivery was mainstream. Tesla before most people took electric vehicles seriously. Foursquare before location data was a billion-dollar industry. Snapchat AI before most people understood what AI meant for the social platform. In every single one of those cases, I was betting on the same thing. Not just the product, the shift, the fundamental change in how people do something. When a shift is real, the best company riding that wave tends to win big. Lovable is riding the biggest software shift I have ever seen. Think about what the internet did for distribution. It meant you didn't need a physical store to reach customers. Think about what the smartphone did for access. It meant you didn't need a computer to run a business. Lovable is doing the exact same thing, but for building. You no longer need a developer to build software. That's what I call a category defining shift. When I looked at Thriller, what I would have been able to build faster, cheaper, and with more iterations if Lovable had existed when I was starting out. It's a completely different company. Internal tools that took months to build, done in days. Customer-facing portals, built in hours. New feature ideas that I had to put on development backlog for 6 to 8 months. Tested the same week. That's the business case right there, and I'm not the only one who saw it. Fortune 500 companies are now using Lovable to rebuild their onboarding workflows. A professional service firm replaced slide decks with an interactive prototype built on Lovable. A consumer health tech company is building internal dashboards, prototype wearable features, running on onboarding systems all through Lovable. The managing partner at Capital G, Google's growth equity fund, said directly, Lovable has done something rare. They built a product that enterprises and founders both love. Usually you don't get that mix. My outlook was, when something works for a solo founder at $20 a month and for a Fortune 500 at enterprise scale, that's when you've got a real scalable business. Now let's dive a bit deeper into what Lovable means for you. Let's get practical, because I don't just want you to understand why I invested. I want you to understand why you should be using Lovable today. So if you're watching this video, you're probably one of 3 types of people. The first is the founder who has an idea but just can't build it. You've been setting on something, whether it's a tool your industry needs or a platform your customers will pay for, a workflow that just doesn't exist yet. And every time you look into building it, you hit the same wall. Developers, cost, time. Lovable essentially removes that wall. You can build a working MVP, a real product, not a prototype, in days, all at $20 a month. Test whether people actually want it. Put your product out there. Iterate based on real feedback, and only then think about hiring a developer to scale it. That's how I would have started Thriller if Lovable had existed. Not by hiring a development team on day one, but by building a working version, a working MVP, proving the demand, and then scaling. The second type of person watching this video is the operator, someone who's essentially already running a business. You have internal processes, but they're slow. Tasks that could take your team hours every week that could be automated. Customers facing experiences that are held together with spreadsheets and lots and lots of manual effort. Lovable is what I now use to build internal tools for Thriller. Fast, no developer dependency, no backlog. If I have an idea for an internal dashboard or a workflow at 10 on Monday morning, it can exist by Tuesday afternoon. That has never happened in the history of business ever. That speed of execution is a competitive weapon. Most of your competitors are still waiting 6 months for a developer to build what you just shipped out in 2 days. And the third type is the creator or content creator. Someone building a personal brand, an audience, a community. You've been trying to find tools to manage your community, and understandable as it is. You track your audience, you build a member portal, create a resource hub. These tools exist, but they got a lot of problems. For one, they're expensive. Two, they're rigid. And three, they don't do exactly what you need. Lovable lets you build exactly what you need at a fraction of the cost. So a lot of people ask me, where do you see Lovable going? And this is my answer. I always reference the CEOs of companies that I tend to invest in, and I'm going to do the same. Anton Osaka, publicly, that his goal for Lovable is to be the last piece of software companies ever need to buy. Think about that. Not another tool in your stack, the platform from which you build everything else. That's an enormous vision, and the growth suggests that they're on track to attempt at 400 million ARR. Right now, more than 100,000 projects are being created on Lovable every week. 6 million daily visits to the site and apps built on Lovable. 25 million total projects have been created on the platform. We're sitting on 8 million users. That's not a niche developer tool anymore. That's a mass market platform for builders. The AI developer tools market, which Lovable sits at the center of and is planning on capitalizing on, was valued at about $5 billion in 2023. It's projected to hit $26 billion by 2030. And Lovable is currently the #1 company in the space by total funding. When you combine that market growth with the fact that Lovable now has a mobile app, has enterprise traction, has the backing of the likes of NVIDIA and Google and Salesforce, that's not a startup betting on a trend. That's a company that has already won the first round of a very long fight. 2, 3 reasons. 1, distribution and timing. I've always said distribution wins. Lovable has something that almost no software company achieves this fast. A massive user base with genuine organic growth. They didn't buy their users, they didn't pay their users. They built something so good that word naturally spread. That's a very difficult thing to do. Take my word for it. Over 100,000 new projects every single day from organic use. That is product market fit at a level most companies never achieve. The second reason is the non-technical founder market is enormous and untapped. Every single person with a business idea who can't code is a potential Lovable customer. Think about how wide that base is. The CEO of Notion called me the other day and he said, I'm quoting, is the manager of infinite minds. Lovable democratizes that. It turns anyone with clarity of thought, which is what the investor Gwyneth Paltrow from Kinship Ventures said when she also backed Lovable. You don't need to write code to get started. You need clarity of thought into a builder. That market is not millions of people, it's billions. The third reason is what I like to call the compounding infrastructure story. Lovable isn't just a code generator. They're building the infrastructure layer underneath. Lovable Cloud, they are built in backend that handles databases, hosting, payments, deep integrations with partners like Stripe, Subbase, GitHub. That basically turns it into an enterprise tier that Fortune 500 companies are actively paying for. This is a platform, not a product, and platforms compound. When I invested in Tesla early, the thesis wasn't the car. Again, it was the platform, software, energy, autonomous driving. That the car was the first expression of. Same thing here. Lovable today looks like an app builder when it's becoming an operating system for how non-technical people build everything. So if you're watching this video, the question isn't what is Lovable. The question is what should you be doing right now? I'm going to give you the same 3-step action plan that I gave to everyone in my network before I announced my public investment in Lovable. Step 1, go use it today, not tomorrow, today. Go to Lovable, sign up for free, download the app. Think of one eternal tool your business needs that doesn't yet exist. One customer-facing thing that you wanted to build, even one idea you've been sitting on. Type it in plain English, like you're talking to a friend. See what comes up. I promise, the moment you see a working application appear from a single sentence, something shifts in how you think about building. The second thing I'd probably do is identify your bottleneck. Every business has a software bottleneck, something that if it existed or existed better would unlock a meaningful amount of growth or efficiency. Write that thing down, then actually build it on Lovable. Don't wait for a developer, don't put it on a backlog. Build it today. Step 3. And the third thing I probably do is think about what you would be building if building was free. That's the question that changes everything. Most people people constrain their ideas based on what they think. When building becomes cheap and fast, or in this case even free, the constraint then disappears. What would you build if it cost you $20 in 2 days instead of $20,000 in 6 months? That's the question Lovable is answering for an entire generation of founders. I'll end the video here because this was just a brief intro into making my investment public. There will be more videos to follow, but I want to end it with, I've invested in companies that changed the way food got delivered, that changed the way people find places, that changed the way electric vehicles got sold. The way every single one of those bets was about seeing the shift before it's obvious. Seeing the moment where something that used to require enormous resources suddenly became accessible to everyone. That's what Lovable is. The moment where building software, which used to require education, expensive teams, and long development periods, becomes accessible to anyone who has an idea or at least the clarity to describe it. I invested because I believe the next 10 years of business will be built by people who can move fast. And Lovable is the fastest way to move. The question is, what are you going to build? Drop in the comments. I genuinely want to know. I hear from people all over the world telling me what they use Lovable to build, and I can't wait to hear more of these stories. If this video gave you clarity on where opportunity is right now, share it with someone who wants to build but just doesn't have the expertise. And I hope this video has shared some unique insight that you haven't got before. I know we're going to be using it a lot in our daily processes and in all of our companies. And remember, I'm always watching and I'm rooting for you to win.